Ignacio, we're eager to hear your perspective.
What if I told you I come from a city where nuclear flies fall from the sky? And what if I tell you that in school we raise these flies when we're children? Well, I know it sounds like a science fiction or like dystopian story, but actually it's true. And it's what makes Mendoza, my city in the west of Argentina, an agricultural hub. There it is. Those are flies. And actually, these flies make us, make agriculture possible in my city. Well, we will go back to that later. But first, let's look at all these vegetables, all these yummy vegetables. We have corn, tomato, avocado, peanuts, potato. All these vegetables haven't been around since ever on Earth. They first grew in South America, in Latin America, and thanks to the work of indigenous and of Andean communities that selected all these crops throughout centuries in all the continent. And they first came into Europe in the 16th century because of the European colonization of South America. And imagine like a world without French fries with ketchup. Well, that would have been impossible without all this natural selection. Let's first look at some data. 900 million people suffered from food insecurity according to the UN in 2022. World population will reach 10 billion people by the year 2100. Imagine 10 billion people that we have to feed, that they have their right to work, to be educated, to go to universities, and of course, the full right to live a life with dignity. We need to increase our food production by 60% to meet this demand. Our population is still growing at a fast rate, and especially in the developing countries, where this lack of food is more prevalent. But the agricultural system is totally unsustainable. We're doomed in a never-ending loop where agriculture produces almost 1/4 of greenhouse gas emissions. And because of this, we have climate change. And climate change makes our food system to be endangered. So this loop seems like never-ending. But let's look at some more data, because Latin America is so important to fight back not only climate change, but also hunger. Latin America has just 15% of world's land area, but we have 29% of world's precipitations. Not only that, Latin America is also important because we have 40% of fresh water available on Earth, and also 1/3 of the available natural resources we have in the whole planet. 45% of net international trade agri-food products come also from this same continent. And well, don't even get me started if we want to talk about forest cover. All we have to talk about biodiversity, because those are very important resources we have in South America, and we have to protect and defend. Look at this. All this represents the pesticides used all over the globe. South America and Latin America, as you can see, uses most of it. We have the most usage. And only in the last 20 years, it grew by 110%. And we can talk a lot about this. We can talk about agriculture from a political, from economical, from a defense point of view. And there's lots of debates we can have and lots of scopes we can see through. But because of the topic of the forum and because of the time constraints, I will just focus on the technological solutions. And sometimes, with the technological solutions and the science solutions, the first thing we should look at, it's the most minimal and the most tiny things on Earth, the atoms. Well, imagine with the atoms, we can have a lot of different technologies, not only applied, of course, as we know, to energy, but also to agricultural, applications. the first application we can find is plant breeding and genetics. As well as Russell said before, all this radiation, natural radiation we have on Earth, coming from the Earth and coming from the cosmic radiation, produces a lot of mutations. Those mutations are beneficial because they produce natural variation of the plants and animals we have on Earth, and that produce evolution. Imagine what would happen if we can control that radiation to have more plants and more variation, and these plants could, for example, have better genetics, and they could survive at the harshest conditions that are every day more common due to climate change. For example, what happened if we can have watermelons that live even with more heat or extreme conditions in general. Also, another application we can find is avoiding fertilizer pollution. Because many times we apply fertilizers in a manner that we don't know where the fertilizer is going to. But with the isotopes, we can track all the fertilizer through the whole cycle. So we can know where the fertilizer is going to. If it is being absorbed by the plant, if it is being, absorbed by the soil or the water. So we can use it more efficiently so we avoid fertilizer pollution. Well, almost 15% of the food produced on this planet goes to waste before reaching the shops. That number can go up to 45% when we talk about fruits and vegetables. So, what if we could irradiate those fruits and vegetables for them to stay longer in shape, for them not to rot, and without changing, like natural flavors, and without changing the characteristics? And finally, and this brings me to my point in the beginning about the nuclear flies. What if we could, for example, irradiate different animals or insects that are considered pests, and we can bring those populations down? Look at this. So, this is the sterile insect technique that is the one used in my city. So, how it works? Okay, in my city we have a fly that is named the Mediterranean fly, and eats lots of crops, and a lot of food is wasted, a lot of fruits, vegetables, especially grapes, peaches, and berries, and many others are in danger because of this pest. And what do we do in my city? Okay, there's a research institute named Iskamen that they irradiate male flies with gamma radiation coming from cobalt-60 source. They irradiate the male insects and then they set them free. How they set them free? Okay, from the sky. They just throw bags, just cardboard bags with flies inside, and yeah, you can be hit in your head with one of those. And when it reaches to your home, you have to open the bag and let all these insects go free. We also do it at schools. Yeah, we babysit, we pet all these flies that protect our crops and agriculture in my region. Then those male flies mate with female flies, but all the eggs are infertile because of the radiation. They turn male flies into infertile, and they cannot produce offspring. So we bring population of Mediterranean flies down, and we can save lots and lots of crops. And next time you're drinking wine, especially if it is from Mendoza, please raise a glass and toast for Pacific and for agricultural applications of nuclear technology. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ignacio, for your presentation. You've outlined several ways nuclear technologies can innovate agriculture. What do you see as the biggest barrier in their widespread use in Latin America, and how can we overcome that?
Thank you so much. I think the question is, and the answer is simple, and it's funding. Because in Latin America, most of the funding is not going to scientific, it's not going to scientific purposes or education. So we need a lot of funding from different international organizations, and especially from our government, to really step, step in the front and say, I want Latin America to be a scientific hub, because that's the primary way to have development, through scientists, through educated people, and through universities. So that's the main thing we should be pushing for.